Can you guess what's coming up on the channel today? Yes, it's homemade Scotch Baps and recipes from the 1940s.
You got 500 grams of very strong flour, 10 grams of salt, 5 grams of emul dry, 10 grams of sugar, 10 grams of lard, 20 grams of fresh yeast, or you can use 10 grams of dried yeast. You got 300 milliliters of warm milk, and also in there is 150 milliliters of warm water. So we want our small machine to start with. First thing we need to do is get her on. Put our bowl in. Make sure it's locked in. Add in our flour, malt, salt, sugar, lard. We're going to just mix this around like this, just to stir all the ingredients in. Put our liquid in, add in our yeast, and just knock her on to first speed. Now you want to be mixing this on first speed for 1 minute. That's just to get everything to mix together. And it's just doing what I expected it to do. So let's get our spatula in there. Now I will mention this, I've not made this recipe before, so this might well want a bit more flour. Okay, so bear this in mind. And as you appreciate, recipes are only guidelines, and I'm getting the feeling this might want more flour, but we can't see yet. It don't want to be too tight, but then it doesn't want to be too slack. Generally, this recipe is working on around about 67 to 70% hydration. Right, we're going to knock it straight up onto third speed.
You want to be mixing this for around about 10 minutes, and halfway through, scrape the bowl down. So let's have a look at this.
And that looks pretty slack to me, indeed. In fact, that is going to want a little bit more flour in that. That is far too slack. So I'm going to say, I'll put my head on my block here and thinking that wants at least another 50, if not even 100 grams of flour. So I'm going to put 100 grams of flour in that. So we'll add in our flour. I think that might just be about right. Right, let's stop this and have a look. That looks a lot better already. Yeah, that's okay now. So I would say
the dough wants another 8 minutes mixing on third speed.
And that's it. All we're going to do now is let that sit there for around about 1 hour. And all we're going to do is now cover it all over like this. And this is exactly what the bakers do in the bakeries. We don't take them out of the machine bowl, we leave them in the bowl and just let them prove. And to start with, before we do any moulding and cutting, what we need is 2 tins, and well, basically they're trays. And on those trays, we want to sprinkle themselves with this product. This is actually ground rice, very fine, and all you do is sprinkle the tray with ground rice like this. Just make sure they're well covered all over, all right? And do the same to the other one as well. So gently take it out of the bowl. Just get your scraper in, bit of flour on the table. Basically, by the time you get it out the bowl, you've already knocked it back. Now this time, if you've got a prover, which is electric, go and put your prover on, because you'll need that on. Otherwise, you're going to be leaving it on the side. So all we need to be doing with this is scaling it off, and I'm going to be using English method now. You can scale it off at 3 ounces or 2 ounces. So I'm opting for 3 ounces. So if you're doing it at 3 ounce, scale them off at 6. Okay, and then all we'll do is split them. So lucky for us, having 6, that's going to be making 12 rolls. Bit of flour, and all we need to be doing is moulding these round. Just split them in half, like that, and just mould them round. All right, don't mould them super tight. And if you want to, just roll it out like this, and then you get the middle, okay? We're going to leave these about 5 minutes just to let them start moving, because they're really a bit slow at the moment. But what I would do now is just hands on the top, all right? Just push it down with that part on the top. Helps them go out a bit, like that, all right? We'll come back in 5 minutes, a bit more flour, and then we'll roll them out onto the trays. This is your ground rice now, so we're going to be using ground rice, and all we need to do is roll them out. Now it's specific, you roll it out correctly. It wants to be 3 inches by 2 inches. Yeah, I know, this sounds odd, doesn't it, folks? As long as they're longer than the width, that's important. In fact, like this, just roll them straight out, like that. Then we get our tray, and you place them on the tray next to one another like that, and just pull them out a little bit. All right. Right, now you've done that, we need to wash the tops with water. Now this is the only time you're going to put water on them. There's no steam in the oven, there's no steam in the prover. This is going to be dry proved only. Now you can just as well leave them on the table in a nice warm place at 20 Celsius, and that'll be fine. But we're going to be moving them into a prover, which is going to prove it around about, I would say, it's 25 to 30 Celsius. So I'm going to put these straight into the prover now. Now for an oven with no fan, it wants to be 500 Fahrenheit, or that's around about 260 Celsius.
And for a fan assisted oven, I'd say 230 to 240 Celsius is pretty hot enough. But just remember, oven temperatures are a guide. You need to keep an eye on it.
Our Scotch Baps are ready. Look, you can see it a little bit wet there. Shouldn't really be wet. This is dry proving. Let's have a look at the other ones. They're more bare. Now our oven temperature is actually 240 Celsius. And this is fan assisted. Now we're going to be baking them in the oven until they're hard on the top, all right? Getting them in. Now they may have to be turned around halfway through. So let's say, what, 15 minutes? So check them after about 5 minutes to see how they're doing. And if you're liking this type of content, please subscribe. And this is our first tray of Scotch Baps. Completely different to what I expected, to be honest. Well, I'm looking at these thinking they look actually a very nice roll, considering. I'm quite surprised, actually. I wonder what they were going to come out like. They've got that nice crispy, oh, and they've got that lovely aroma from them. I'm going to have to let them cool down before I can cut one open, I'm sure. I'm definitely going to have to do some of these at work, aren't I? I'm curious to see what they come out like, because this is basically small scale, and to do something like this here, it's going to be completely different to what it is at work. I'm well impressed with that. Yeah, they do look really nice, don't they? Yeah, I've got to say that does look a nice roll. Mind you, there's nothing like tasting them, is it? I mean, what are they going to taste like? Don't really know, to be honest. I'm going to think they're going to be like an ordinary roll to me. The only difference is it's got lard in it and that extra bit of malt, because that does make a little bit of difference. Basically, it's like a malt improver, really. But there you go, folks. Hey, here I am. Did you think I was going to turn up eventually? Of course I was. Now, this is the roll we've got, and that does look nice in there. Look at that. Lovely and soft. And that is just how it should be. Smells beautiful. Now, to be perfectly honest, I shouldn't be eating that. And you've got that nice base on there, which always makes a roll anyway. So let's just chop it open and have a look inside. Oh, that smells absolutely beautiful, folks. Now, it is a bit hot. Bear this in mind. It is a hot roll. So I know exactly it's probably going to give me a suggestion, but I'm well impressed with it. In fact, the inside actually looks better than what it does on the outside. Trouble is, I'm used to what I'm used to. And I think if I was doing this in the bakery, it would look a lot better. but then I got the conditions and everything. This is at home, and this is the same sort of thing. So if you're at home, this is exactly what you get. Today was a total experiment. If you see me on my Facebook page, I'd have told you the same thing. This today was a test. This is a test bake, and instead of doing a test bake and then showing you how to make it, I thought I'd do the test bake and bake it at the same time. Why waste time making two lots? If I basically cock up, you'll see me cock up, and as you've seen, we've had problems with the flour. Hey, if the recipe says 600 grams of flour, 600 grams of flour it is. But remember, when you're making recipes, recipes are only a guesstimate. They can vary. Flour, water, temperatures. When I walk into the bakery tonight and it's freezing cold, I have to make my doughs accordingly. If I told you to go in and say, make a dough red hot, you'll go, oh no, it'll kill the yeast in certain conditions. Right, let's see what it tastes like. I can tell it's different to what I make. That is so nice. I might try some and sell them in the shop, just out of curiosity. Probably people say, what's the Scotch Bap? But apparently my friend out in Australia turned around to me, and he's Scottish, and he said, Steve, these days they're called morning baps or morning rolls. I said, yeah, but they're called morning rolls all over the world if they're baked in the morning. I mean, these are actual Scotch Baps as they were. I want to thank everybody who's donated to the channel. If you want to donate to the channel, buy me a coffee and a cake. A cake, you know what I mean. There is a link in the description if you want to send me something. All helps towards basically ingredients these days. And there we go, folks. If you like this type of content, please subscribe and please share. And we'll see you again very shortly on the Crazy Baker channel. Laters. Go away. Go away. You follow me. This is the trouble with cameras. They follow you everywhere you go. But I've got a good way of making you disappear. Just like this. Woo!